Brian, how do you keep your employees motivated to work so hard? And how do you gain their respect while being friendly? This is a good question. It kind of bounces a little bit off the previous one. How do I keep them motivated and work so hard? I think the important thing to keep in mind for any company that kind of has aspirations to really be just a great place to work and have a lot of motivated people. Everybody kind of wants motivated people. So the thing to keep in mind is that you can't really motivate people unless they want to be motivated. You know what I mean? I mean, you can do little incentives here and there for kind of some short bursts of motivation, but that's really no different than having something on sale to get somebody to buy it real quick. Does that really have long-term loyalty? Some might argue yes. I would say probably not. So it's you don't want to do the carrot and stick kind of thing, as that's what most people think of motivation in terms of incentives, incentive programs and bonus programs and stuff like that. And certainly sometimes those things are warranted for short sprints and depending on what it is you're trying to do. But that is not like, you can't hire an unmotivated person and put some kind of program in place that will make them a motivated person. So you don't motivate people, you hire people who are motivated. That's really the important thing to keep in mind. And that can be tough because there's a lot of people out there who aren't motivated, or they might be motivated, but it's just to get a better paycheck, or it's just to get a job. It's not to really be tied to the work and really better themselves and be a part of something great. That is actually a very challenging part of what we do here, is just hiring the right people in the first place. We have a very intentional hiring process, and that kind of builds upon what I just said in the previous question of clarity being one of the most important things when you're growing a business, is if you are getting motivated people who are just naturally kind of have that internal motivation, and you give them a very clear vision with a unified team, man, they can plug right into that and hit the ground running. If they're not a part of that and you're not clear about who you are, they come in and they're not that motivated, you're hopeless. You're not going to do it. So you need to first check yourself. Me, I'm talking to you. I don't even know where you are in life, but me, I need to check myself and make sure I'm doing everything I can to make this company great. That will motivate people in and of itself, just being a part of something really cool like that, right? Like you can imagine being here, there's a certain energy that we have just from kind of like the traction we've had and the growth and just all the cool things we're doing. It's really hard work. We work really freaking hard here. Let me tell you, all of our team, everybody's exhausted right now. Like we are literally, we're like at like holiday season time right now. Like we anticipated, a dip after the holidays. We got a little dip in January, and now we're still really stinking busy. And so we're in the process of hiring more and so on. It's just everybody's kind of tired a little bit, and they're working really hard. But man, we really work at a steady click around here. And that would not be possible with unmotivated people. It's amazing to me. Like I talk to some of my team, and they're like, I have friends who go to work and they're painting their nails all day because they don't have anything to do. And they're like, I just can't even imagine what that would be like. And I'm like, I can't imagine what it's like to run a business where you're hiring and paying people to paint their nails. Like, what a poorly run operation. And maybe you work at a place like that, and I can't judge everybody. It's like, certainly there's situations, I don't do things perfectly around here, that's for darn sure. But even still, like, that to tie back in, like, everybody's got a different motivation. Where you find the most success is, it's not like a person is either motivated or not, but there are things that motivate everyone. And I think a lot of what we do in our hiring process is we try to find what is it that naturally motivates this individual, and we try to discover that. And if we find that someone wants to come on, they're naturally extremely motivated about childhood development, and they want to be a teacher, and they want to do all these kind of things, but they're kind of like skirting around and trying to like interview their way through the job interview, and really kind of get through it. We're like, we'll dig that stuff up and be like, look, it sounds like you really want to be a teacher. What are you really going to do that's going to tie to this? How is this going to fit into your long-term goals? And they're like, well, I really just kind of need something to tie me over until I can get to school and all that. And we're like, that's cool, but that's what you get more of just a job for. Like, that's not what happens here. That's not what we strive for here. We want to build you, we want to invest in you, try and make you further you along in your career. If this is just a holding place for you, it's not going to be that satisfying, because we demand too much around here in this company. We demand too much out of somebody who's just kind of looking for a placeholder. So, what we like to do is, when we go through the hiring process, we like to we have a kind of a saying that says we want to hire people with batteries included. You know what I mean? We want to hire people who kind of bring that energy just naturally. And as we're talking about what we do and what their role would be, are they kind of lighting up? Are they kind of bringing some energy with them, bringing some passion with them? Not in a short-term thing, because we do a multi-step interview process. So if somebody's trying to fake their way to themselves or to us about being happy doing what they're doing, it's pretty much gonna come out in the interview process. That's kind of why we extend it a little more the Dave Ramsey kind of ideology of like, let's extend the interview process and make people go through some stuff so that it really comes out like, do they actually want to be here? It takes a lot of time to do that, and sometimes that can be difficult and frustrating, but even still, hiring the right people, man, there's no better way you can motivate or manage someone than to just hire the right people in the first place. So that is definitely a business ideology that I have that not all other companies have. Some people are like, hire fast, fire fast. And it's funny, when Rachel and I went to an event in New York City at the end of 2014 called Business Gets Personal. It was hosted by Dave Ramsey, Seth Godin, and Gary Vaynerchuk, three of my business people that I have looked up to for many things in the past. Dave Ramsey is very much of the hire slow, draw the process out, have multiple steps, be super intentional, and make sure they're the right person before they get in the door. Seth Godin and Gary Vaynerchuk, they're up in New York City. They're much more like hire fast, fire fast. Like, get them in, you'll know in 5 minutes if they're the right, 30 seconds if they're the right person when you start the interview. And it's like, okay, so that's certainly a way, that's certainly an approach. Not everybody has a good gut instinct like that, especially when you start hiring and making other people responsible for that. They might not have the same good instinct as you do. It can be a little risky, but they had kind of a post-discussion thing at that event, and they kind of butted heads about it. And these are all very successful business people, so to see them kind of lock horns a little bit about that specific issue of how quickly you should hire someone, it literally, like, the conversation had to stop, and it was like agree to disagree kind of thing. So I think it's kind of neat that a lot of it comes down to like, who are you? What kind of company are you running? What is your approach? For us here, it's been the more of the hire slow approach. Make sure they're the right people before they come in the door. Now, we've been practicing for the last 5 years to get that right, and that's a whole other story. But that's a lot of it. And then the second part, kind of, how do you gain their respect while being friendly? Respect is a funny thing. It's something that you can never force upon anyone. You can do everything that you can to try to gain somebody's respect and still never get it. It's very much, it has to be earned, and it's a two-way street. Some people get respect, certain people, certain celebrities and stuff might get respect just because of what they've achieved, but they may not have the greatest personal role model situation going on, so they may have some undue respect that's given on, or things people may have respect because of their position, but maybe not because of their personal life, or they could have a lot of respect for who they are personally, but not, they might be somebody who maybe wouldn't be traditionally considered as a very, impressive position of some kind. So it's really got nothing to do, I view, as kind of the authoritative position. I think that actually for me, I've really strived to have kind of a servant leadership mentality where the higher up we go, the more people we have, the more responsibility I feel to serve everyone here really well. So I think having kind of that mentality probably helps. It's definitely something I continually practice, and I'm not that great at it, but I'm trying to get better every day. So being respectful, being friendly, I think a lot of it just has to do with caring about your people a lot, always trying to be relatable. If you continually have your own ivory tower kind of meetings and just say here's what I've decided, go make it happen, that can be a challenge sometimes. Whereas when you're seeking to have discussions and collaborate and get feedback from everybody, include things, do things like whole company meetings, and you have Q&A sessions where people can ask you about, hey, you said you were going to do this thing last week, have you done it yet? Literally just this past Tuesday, we had our company meeting, we had talked previously about some of our 2016 goals. So this week's company meeting, we talked about something, you know, an initiative that I can't discuss. And somebody was like, well, hey, what about this thing? You know, have you made any progress on it? I literally had somebody on my fulfillment team say, have you said you were going to do this thing? Where's the progress on that? And I was like, well, you're right. Here's what's going on. You know, we've had this other thing come up, and you know, this person was going to help me with that, and they're really tied down right now. So I'm shifting some things around. I'm going to delay that a little bit and let them kind of do. You know, so I'm having those kinds of discussion. I feel like that having that kind of transparency, especially with our team, probably helps a lot in that way. So a lot of it just has to do with, you know, being vulnerable, you know, not trying to be like this super, like, I do everything right and I know everything, so you should do what I say. And, you know, I have some guidance and help and maybe perspective that people don't have, but ultimately I try to delegate and empower our folks who are kind of closest to the work to be empowered to make the decisions, you know, not without a safety net, but, you know, in that way. So I think that probably helps in that way.